If you are an empath with very few friends, you've probably had this thought in the middle of a crowded room. Why do I feel more alone around people than I do by myself? And if you've ever been labeled antisocial, too picky, distant, or too sensitive, I want you to hear this clearly. Having a small circle isn't always a social weakness. Sometimes it is a sign of rare intelligence, not the loud kind, not the performative kind, but the quiet intelligence that makes you selective, observant, and hard to fool. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down 5 rare forms of intelligence that often appear in empaths who keep their circle small. You'll recognize yourself in at least one, probably more, and by the end you understand the crucial difference between healthy selectiveness and invisible isolation, because from the outside, those two can look identical. Let's start with the truth most people miss. Empaths struggle to connect. Empaths struggle to stay connected to people who feel emotionally unsafe. And unsafe does always mean evil or toxic. Sometimes it just means careless, inconsistent, emotionally immature, self-centered, or shallow in a way your nervous system can tolerate for long. So the empath learns something early. It is safer to have fewer people than to have many people who constantly pull you away from yourself. This is the ability to read what is happening underneath what is being said. You don't just hear words, you hear tone, timing, energy, avoidance, micro shifts, the emotional weather in a room. You notice when someone says, "I am fine," but their body is saying, "I am not." You notice when someone laughs, but the laugh feels sharp, not warm. You notice when a compliment carries a hidden edge, and because you notice these things, you often see the truth months or years before other people do. Here is why this intelligence often leads to fewer friends. Once you can read emotional signals, casual relationships become exhausting. You can unsee when someone is pretending. You can ignore passive aggression. You can relax in friendships that require constant interpretation of what isn't being said. So you choose distance not because you think you were better, but because you were trying to stay regulated. Picture this. You are sitting across from someone at a cafe. They say all the right things. They were polite. They were friendly. Nothing bad happens, and yet your chest tightens. Your shoulders stay tense. Your body does soften. That is emotional signal intelligence. Your nervous system is detecting a mismatch. The upgrade here is this. Stop using your sensitivity to judge people. Use it to choose distance wisely. Not everyone deserves closeness, but not everyone deserves suspicion either. Empaths with few friends are often terrifyingly good at recognizing patterns, not just in behavior, but in character. You notice when apologies don't lead to change. You notice when someone only reaches out when they need something. You notice when "I miss you" appears right after they run out of options. You notice when someone is warm in public and cold in private. Most people need 10 repetitions before admitting a pattern is real. You need 2. And that makes you look harsh to people who live in denial. But your mind is cruel, it is protective. Here's the key line. A pattern is a promise. So when you see a pattern, you stop arguing with reality. The danger of this intelligence is that after enough hurt, you can start predicting betrayal everywhere. So the upgrade is this. Use patterns to guide your boundaries, not to close your heart. Let people earn access slowly. Let consistency speak louder than charm. This one is rare and deeply misunderstood. You don't just experience life. You process it. You don't just feel emotions and move on. You reflect. You connect meaning. You notice what experiences teach you. That is why one conversation can stay with you for hours. That is why one careless comment can linger. That is why shallow friendships feel unbearable. It is not that you want attention, it is that you want truth. You crave conversations where you don't have to shrink, joke, or emotionally dilute yourself to be accepted. So yes, do you rather have one deep friend than 10 surface ones? That is not broken. That is standards. But here is the trap. Depth can turn into overprocessing, replaying, analyzing, carrying emotions that aren't yours. So the upgrade is simple. Give your depth a direction. Write it. Create from it. Move your body. Speak it with someone safe. Depth is a gift when it flows. Depth becomes a prison when it loops. This intelligence is almost always born from pain. Empaths with few friends often have strong boundaries because they learned painfully what happens without them. They learned that kindness without limits attracts takers, that understanding without standards invites disrespect, that constant availability creates entitlement. So eventually they change. They stop over-explaining. They stop being the free therapist. They stop calling disrespect a misunderstanding. And when real boundaries form, something predictable happens. Your circle gets smaller. Not because you lost love, but because you lost access. Boundaries dawn to push away good people. They reveal who was only close because you were easy to use. Healthy boundaries aren't walls. They are doors with locks. Some people get the front door. Some get the living room. Almost nobody gets the private rooms of your life. That is not coldness. That is wisdom. Values and meaning intelligence. This one is huge. You dawn to just want connection. You want alignment. Integrity matters to you. Empathy matters. Respect. Emotional maturity. You can bond comfortably through gossip. You can laugh for long at cruelty disguised as humor. You can feel safe around people who treat others like objects. So you opt out and people call you serious, intense, or too much. But what it really is knowing what matters. It is refusing to trade peace for popularity, quality over quantity, truth over belonging. Why you still feel lonely sometimes even with all this intelligence. Here's the part nobody talks about, even with all this intelligence. You are still human. Being selective does to erase the need for closeness. Having standards does to remove the desire to be understood. You can protect your peace and still want someone to sit beside you when life gets heavy. So let's talk about how empaths accidentally slide from healthy selectiveness into invisible isolation when solitude heals and when it hides. Solitude is powerful when it restores you. But when you're alone because you assume everyone will disappoint you, that is not solitude. That is protection that has gone too far. Many empaths confuse withdrawal with healing because being alone feels safer than being misunderstood. But safety without connection eventually becomes loneliness with armor. The nervous system does to heal in isolation. It heals in safe connection. Not perfect people. Not constant access. Just emotionally safe presence. The nervous system truth most empaths miss. Your sensitivity is to your personality traded. It's a nervous system adaptation. Many empaths learned early that connection came with unpredictability. Love felt inconsistent. Care felt conditional. So the body learned to stay alert. That is why crowded rooms feel lonely. That is why shallow conversation feels draining. That is why your body relaxes only around very few people. This is weakness. It is intelligence shaped by experience. But intelligence alone does complete the healing. Safety does. How to use these 5 intelligences without isolating. Here is how you integrate instead of retreat. First, stop shaming yourself for having a small circle. The goal is more friends. The goal is safer friends. Second, aim for one intentional connection, not social overload. Most empaths don't need many people. They need one person they can exhale around. Third, let people earn access through consistency. You don't need to overshare to build closeness. Reveal slowly. Observe how they handle it. Do they respect your vulnerability? Do they stay kind? Do they show up without extracting? That is trust. Fourth, keep this line close to your heart. Having few friends does mean you are hard to love. It often means you're hard to manipulate. That is not a flaw. That is a compliment. If you're an empath with very few friends, don't rush to fix it. Refine it. Because one emotionally safe connection can do more for your healing than 100 shallow ones ever could. So remember the 5 rare intelligences you carry. Emotional signal intelligence, you read beneath words. Pattern recognition intelligence, you stop ignoring what repeats. Depth processing intelligence, you need meaning, not noise. Boundary intelligence, you protect your energy without guilt. Values and meaning intelligence, you choose alignment over popularity. Your next step is becoming more social. It is becoming more intentional. Choose one person who feels emotionally safe. Build slowly. Let your intelligence lead to connection, not isolation. That is how you stop surviving and start belonging without betraying yourself. And one last thing to remember. If you've stopped explaining yourself, stopped overgiving, and stopped forcing connection, it does mean you are tired of people. It means you've learned the value of your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world, and not every space is safe for your heart. When you choose honesty with yourself, life may give you fewer people, but it gives you the right ones. And that is more than enough.